The most dangerous thing about an abandoned place is almost never a ghost. It's a rotten floor over a 40-foot drop. It's air you can't breathe. It's a tunnel that branches 1,000 times until you can't find your way back to the light. It's the fact that if something goes wrong, if you fall, if you get trapped, if you meet someone who doesn't want to be found, there is no one to hear you, and no one even knows you're there. That's why every place on this list comes with the same warning. Whatever you do not go in alone. Today, we're walking through 10 real abandoned places that are genuinely, physically dangerous to explore by yourself, and the real reasons why. These aren't superstitions. People have been lost, injured, and killed in places exactly like these. Here's the thread to hold on to. The deeper we go, the easier it becomes to disappear. Until we reach number 1, a labyrinth beneath a major city where a single wrong turn can mean you are simply never seen again. Let's begin. Number 10, Helltown in the Boston Mills area of Ohio. Decades ago, the government bought up an entire community here to make way for a national park, and the homes were emptied of their residents. For a time, a scattering of abandoned houses and a sealed-off road sat in the woods, and the eerie emptiness gave rise to wild local legends about cults and chemical spills and worse. Strip away the folklore, though, and the real danger is simple and serious. This is isolated woodland with abandoned structures, steep terrain, and the ordinary hazards of any forgotten place. Rotten footing, hidden drops, and the deep, disorienting dark of the woods at night. People drawn by the legends have wandered in looking for a thrill and found themselves genuinely lost. Helltown is the gentle start to this list because it shows you how the real threat and the imagined one get tangled up. The cult stories aren't true, but the danger of walking alone into dark, unfamiliar woods full of abandoned structures absolutely is. The scariest thing here was never a monster. It's a twisted ankle a mile from your car, with the sun going down and no signal on your phone. Number 9, the abandoned grain elevators of Buffalo, New York. Towering over the waterfront, these colossal concrete silos were once the engine of a great grain shipping economy. Many now stand empty and decaying, drawing explorers who want to climb them for the staggering views from the top. The danger here is brutal and specific. These are enormous industrial structures with crumbling concrete, sheer internal drops into bins dozens of feet deep, rusted through ladders and walkways, and the ever-present risk of a fall with absolutely nothing to stop you. Grain structures in general are notorious for a horrifying hazard, loose material that can swallow a person whole, and abandoned ones add collapse and decay on top of that. Buffalo's grain elevators belong here because they look climbable and aren't. The scale fools you. A confident explorer can be fine right up until a rusted rung gives way or a rotten floor opens beneath them, and then they're at the bottom of a concrete pit no one will think to search. Alone, a fall like that isn't an injury. It's a death sentence by way of nobody knowing where you are. Number 8, the abandoned subway of Cincinnati, Ohio. Beneath the streets of the city lies the largest abandoned subway system in the country. Miles of tunnels and station shells that were built and then never finished or used, sealed under the modern roads above. Exploring it means going underground into a forgotten network with real hazards. Flooding, bad air in sealed sections, total darkness, and the genuine possibility of getting turned around in a system that doesn't appear on any map you can carry. There are also the everyday dangers of any abandoned underground space, debris, unstable footing, and the simple fact that you are below a city where no one can see or hear you. Cincinnati's Ghost Subway makes the list because it's the perfect example of the hidden world directly beneath ordinary life. People drive over it every day, but step down into it alone, lose your light or your bearings, and that thin layer of pavement between you and the normal world might as well be a mile thick. Underground, alone, in the dark, small problems become fatal ones fast. Number 7, the Renwick Smallpox Hospital on Roosevelt Island in New York City. This Gothic stone ruin once treated patients with one of the most feared diseases in history, deliberately built on an island to keep the contagious away from the city. Long abandoned, it decayed into a genuine ruin, and unlike most buildings on this list, it is so structurally unstable that it has been fenced off and braced to keep it from collapsing entirely. That instability is the danger. This isn't a solid building you can walk through. It's a crumbling shell where stone can and does fall. where the structure itself is actively trying to come down. Authorities have gone to real lengths to keep people out and the ruins standing, precisely because it's so fragile. Renwick earns its place as a warning about the buildings that look the most romantic. A moonlit Gothic ruin on an island is exactly the kind of place an explorer dreams about, and exactly the kind of place where a wall can give way without warning. Alone, pinned under fallen stone in a fenced-off ruin people are specifically told to avoid, your odds are not good. Number 6. We're halfway through and the danger turns invisible. The Salton Sea, in the California desert and the half-abandoned communities around it, like Bombay Beach. This was once a booming resort destination until ecological disaster turned the lake toxic and hypersaline, killing the fish and the tourism and leaving behind a string of decaying half-emptied settlements. The hazard here isn't a fall or a collapse, it's the air and the ground. As the sea shrinks, it exposes a vast, dry lake bed laced with decades of agricultural chemicals and salts, and wind can lift that playa dust into the air, a genuine, documented public health concern for the whole region. You're exploring beautiful, eerie decay while potentially breathing something you really shouldn't. The Salton Sea makes this list because it's the danger you can't see coming. There's no dramatic drop, no obvious trap, just sun, silence, rotting buildings, and air that may quietly be harming you. Alone out there, in the heat, miles from help, the environment itself is the threat, and it doesn't announce itself until long after you've left. Number 5. The abandoned mines of the American West. Scattered across states like Nevada, California, and Arizona are tens of thousands of abandoned mine shafts and tunnels, relics of old booms, many of them completely unmarked and unsecured. Safety agencies run an entire campaign around them with a blunt slogan, "Stay out, stay alive." The reasons are grim and varied. Vertical shafts hundreds of feet deep hide under brush and rotten coverings. Tunnels fill with pockets of deadly oxygen poor or toxic air that can kill a person in minutes with no warning. Old explosives sometimes remain. Timbers rot and ceilings collapse. People, including curious explorers and hikers, die in these mines with terrible regularity. Abandoned mines belong near the top because they combine almost every way a place can kill you, and they do it silently. There's no creepy atmosphere to warn you off, just a dark opening in a hillside that looks like an adventure. Step in alone, breathe the wrong air, or trust the wrong floor, and you become one more name in a long, quiet list of people who went into a mine and never came back out. Number 4. The Freedom Tunnel, beneath New York City. This is a long railroad tunnel running under Manhattan's West Side, famous for its graffiti and for the community of people who, for years, lived in its darkness, out of sight of the city above. The dangers here stack on top of each other. There's the tunnel itself, darkness, debris, the disorientation of a long underground passage. But here's the part that catches people out. This tunnel is not actually abandoned. It is an active railroad. Amtrak's Empire service trains run through it every single day, which means the threat of a train bearing down on you in the dark is not a story. It is a timetable. And there's the human element. For years, a whole community lived down here, until Amtrak cleared the tunnel in the 1990s. People still shelter in places like this, and wandering into someone's hidden home, alone, in the dark, is a situation that can turn dangerous fast for everyone involved. The Freedom Tunnel makes the list because it's a reminder that abandoned doesn't always mean empty, and it doesn't always mean dead. There are still trains. There are still people who have nowhere else to go. An explorer blundering in alone isn't discovering a ruin. They're walking a live rail line in the pitch dark through someone else's home, where a misunderstanding has nowhere safe to go. Number 3. The Mittelwerk Tunnels in Germany. Carved into a mountain, this vast underground complex was used during the Second World War as a hidden factory to build rockets, and it was staffed by concentration camp prisoners under conditions so brutal that enormous numbers of them died. It is, in the most literal sense, a tomb as much as a tunnel system. The physical dangers are real. It's a sealed-off, partially collapsed underground complex with unstable sections, bad air, and the hazards of any deep, decaying tunnel network. But the weight of the place is something else entirely. This is the ground where thousands suffered and died, and much of it is closed and protected for exactly that reason. The middle work earns its place because some abandoned places should never be explored alone for reasons beyond your own safety. The physical risks are genuine, but so is the moral one. This is a grave. It's a reminder that the most disturbing underground places aren't haunted by the supernatural. They're weighed down by real, documented human suffering, and they demand respect, not a solo thrill-seeking trip. Number 2. The Odessa Catacombs in Ukraine. This is one of the largest networks of underground tunnels on the planet. An immense, sprawling labyrinth of old quarry passages stretching for an astonishing distance beneath and around the city, far larger and far less mapped than the famous catacombs of Paris. And it is deadly to the unprepared. The tunnels are a true maze, easy to enter and nearly impossible to navigate without expertise. And a person who gets lost down there is in genuine mortal danger. You may have heard the story of a young woman who became separated from her group during a New Year's celebration in the catacombs, got lost in the dark, and was not found until long after she had died. The official Catacombs Authority calls that particular version a hoax. But here is the part that is documented. A body was recovered from these tunnels around 2005. The remains were female. She has never been identified. The legend may well be invented. The dead woman in the dark was not. Odessa sits at number 2 because of its sheer scale and its lack of mapping. This isn't a building you can find your way out of by feeling along a wall. It's a vast, branching darkness where your light and your wits are the only things keeping you alive, and where running out of either, alone, means a slow disappearance into the largest labyrinth on Earth. Number 1. The Catacombs of Paris. Beneath the city lies a staggering network of old quarry tunnels, a small portion of which holds the carefully arranged bones of millions of people, and a vast, mostly off-limits remainder that explorers known as cataphiles slip into illegally through hidden entrances. It is the most famous underground labyrinth in the world, and the most seductive to explore. It is also genuinely deadly. The official tour is safe, everything beyond it is not. The unauthorized tunnels are a disorienting maze where it is terrifyingly easy to get lost, with flooding, collapses, and total darkness as constant threats. In 2017, 2 teenagers aged 16 and 17 had to be rescued after 3 days lost in the catacombs found in the early hours of the morning by search teams and dogs and treated in hospital. And there is the legendary discovered footage of a man alone in the tunnels who appears to panic, drop his camera, and run. The camera found later, its owner never identified. Paris is number 1 because it is the perfect literal embodiment of this entire list's warning. It is beautiful, historic, and almost irresistibly tempting, and it is a place where going in alone can mean wandering a lightless maze of human bones until your flashlight dies. The dead down there number in the millions. The living who get lost don't always make it back to join the world above. There is no place on Earth that says never explore alone more completely. So here's the thread, tied together. Not one of these places is dangerous because of something supernatural. They're dangerous because of physics and chemistry and the simple cruelty of isolation. A rotten floor, a pocket of bad air, a tunnel that branches forever, a ruin actively trying to collapse, a live rail line in the dark. The horror isn't a ghost, it's the gap between the moment something goes wrong and the moment, if ever, that someone comes looking for you. That's why the rule matters. Alone, a sprained ankle in a mine is fatal. With a partner, it's an inconvenience. Every single one of these places has swallowed people who thought they'd be the exception, who went in for an hour and a great photo and never came out. The buildings don't care how careful you are. They only care that you're alone. So tell me in the comments, which of these would you genuinely never set foot in, even with a full team and all the gear in the world? Drop it below, I read every single one. If this one got your heart rate up, hit that like button so more people see the warning. And subscribe before you go, because next time we're looking at the disturbing things urban explorers have actually caught on camera inside abandoned buildings. I'll see you there.